Welcome back to another speaker's tip. I've been getting a lot of email and I want to answer a question I've been getting quite a bit of, which is, how do you start your speech? Now, there are thousands of ways to start your speech correctly, and there are thousands of ways to start your speech badly. And rather than focus on, here are the 15 different ways we can come out and start a speech with the startling statement or the surprise story or the joke or all the different things we can come out with, let's look at what the opening or the beginning of our speech should accomplish with the audience and with the rest of our speech. So I think if we understand what we're trying to accomplish in an opening, then we as speakers can create, I said, thousands of ways to accomplish that one thing. The simplicity is normally when we come out to give a speech, and I mentioned this analogy, it's not like a movie. It's not like we're going to a movie. When you go to a movie, you pick the movie because you understand something of the story. You know the actors, you know the title, you've seen the previews to it. Normally, when we walk out to give a speech, the audience doesn't know our backstory on the speech that we're going to give. And one of the things that a lot of speakers do is they start their speech and they confuse the audience. Now, by confusing the audience, when you're confused, you don't know where you are and you don't know where you're going. Now, the audience knows they're sitting in the seat, but they don't know where they are in the speech and they don't know where you're going with the speech. So what I look at when I open a speech, I want it to do two things. I want it to get the attention of the audience. Because when you walk out on stage, people might be talking to each other. They might be thinking about the last speaker. They might be looking at their cell phone. They might be getting ready to talk to someone. They might be thinking, what am I going to get for dinner after this meeting I'm at or after the presentation? So their attention can be all over the place. So when I walk out, I want to bang, get their attention. So I have their attention. The second thing I want to do is I want to orient them, which means they know where they are in the space. They know where they're going. I want to orient them to the beginning of my speech. Those are the two things. I want to get their attention and I want to orient them in the direction I'm going. In the beginning of a speech, I do not believe it's effective to give the message of your speech. And a lot of people walk out and give the message right up front. I've covered this in earlier tips. I'm going to cover it again right now. Unless you're giving a speaking to inform, which is a relatively dry speech, you can do that. But if you're doing any type of motivational, inspirational, selling, anything like that, you want that message to come later in your speech as a surprise. But you want to orient them to the story so they know where they're going. They know where they're beginning in your speech. They know where they know where they are in relatively to you. Now, I want to give you two quick examples of this on video. And I just spent about 15 minutes trying to find some bad speech openings, and there's not a lot of them on YouTube. Most people don't put their bad speeches up. And the ones I did find were really bad. They weren't that great. So let's look at a couple openings. We're gonna look at Verity Price, who's the 2021 World Champion of Public Speaking. Verity's a very close friend of mine, and I was able to coach her on her speech. So let's look at how she starts the speech. Does she get your attention, and do you know where you're going?
When I was a little girl, I used to love snuggling on my dad's lap while he read me fairy tales. Not surprisingly, I grew up wanting the fairy tale. To be happily married with beautiful kids, a gorgeous home, and a great career by 30.
Okay. So the point is, did she get your attention up front? She was sitting in her dad's lap being read fairy tales. And did you get oriented to where she's going? You don't know what your message is yet, but I think she did a very effective job of starting the speech. I got a clear vision right up front, what was going on. And then very soon into it, I'm oriented that she wanted to grow up and have her life be a fairy tale. She wanted to be perfect by the time she was 30. So there, I'm set. Now, I don't know what's coming after that. The message was a completely different message in that speech, but I'm not confused. I'm not going, what's she talking about? Where's she going? What'd she say? Okay, now I'm going to actually show you also my world champion speech because I happen to know that speech pretty well, and I designed it a specific way. So let's take a look at it here. My opening's a little different. Okay, let me pop up here because I come out and I really try to push to get the attention of the audience on it. Let's watch it here.
The ultimate question. That question that has plagued man since the dawn of time. And that question that each and every one of us must ask at some point in our life. Do you validate?
You know, I just want to stop right there. That entire part was really meant to get their attention. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm the 8th speaker in the competition. There have been 7 speakers before me. I know the audience is getting run. I didn't know where I was going to be in the speaking, but I knew I needed to get the attention. That entire section there was just, I got your attention. You don't know where I'm going with the speech at this point. You're not oriented on the speech, other than the fact that this is a really big question that I just said, do you validate? That doesn't make any sense. So it's important for me to orient you immediately. And this is what I want to talk about. I got the attention, and a lot of speakers will do something to get the attention, but they don't orient the audience immediately to what's going on. The next 20 seconds, I orient the audience to exactly what's happening.
Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters and friends, I was 26 years old. I was living in a small town in Indiana. I had a job I didn't like. I hadn't had a date in 3 years. And I had a couple of roommates named Mom and Dad. I felt like my life was going nowhere.
Okay, so you know what's going on. You're oriented now. You know where I am. You know, I feel like my life's going nowhere. You don't know what the message in the speech is. I had this thing, the ultimate question. What's the ultimate question about? It's about parking your car. Okay, that's going to linger there a little bit. I specifically meant for that to linger. But you're oriented on the story, and I had engaged the audience by the laughter I got, by the 2 hooks I had, pulling the ticket out saying, do you validate? And then Mom and Dad, I had the interaction with the audience. So I had engaged the audience. I had gotten their attention and were oriented on my journey now. So that's really what you want to do with an opening to your speech, is look at what you can do to get the attention of the audience, because even if there's a 2-minute break between speakers, they're going to be thinking of something else. Get their attention and then orient them to the direction you're going without giving them the end message that you've got. This is a real simple lesson. Play with it, try it. I hope this helps you become a better speaker, and I will see you next week.